Hey there, friends. Welcome back to my channel. Shalita here. So for today, I want to talk with you all about my top rated books for 2024. So what were some of your top books, whether they were 4 stars or 5 stars? What were some of your top rated books this year? Let me know down in the comments. So before we get into the video today, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And without further ado, let's get into this. All right. So also before we get into things, please forgive the background noise. If you've been here within the past month, you know that we have a new puppy, and she has a lot of toys, and she likes to play with her toys. So you're probably gonna hear some crinkling, some squeaking, and all that stuff. Hey, as a mom of a fur baby, we can only control so much. So, all right, let's get into it. All right, so we're gonna do my top three books in each genre. Okay, so my top 3 thrillers, my top 3 fantasy, my top 3 romance. I did not read a lot of other genres. I did read a little bit of horror this year, but not enough to pick a top 3. Nor did I read a lot of, fiction, like contemporary, historical, or, I didn't read a lot of general fiction this year either. So I'm not gonna go over those categories. So just the top 3 for me. Top 3 categories this year have been thrillers, fantasy, and romance. So let's start with my top 3 thrillers for 2024. Okay, so the first thriller, and let me say, all 3 of these thrillers were 5 stars for me. 5 stars. They were amazing. First thriller for 2024 was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides or Michaelides. I don't know. I've been saying his name wrong all year probably. Y'all know, my guy Alex. This book was so amazing, and I listened to the audiobook. So in this, our main characters are Alicia and Theo. So Alicia is this like world-renowned, I think she's a painter. Yes, she's a painter. This world-renowned painter, right? One day she just ups and murders her husband, like brutally murdered him. Like, it tells you, I think it even says it on the back of the book, like she shoots him in the face like 6 times. Yes, like brutally murders him. And then she goes silent. Not a peep, not a word. I mean, she didn't even confess to the murder, but I mean, she was, they caught her there red-handed, I guess. So anyway, so Alicia goes silent for a solid 6 months. Like, she hasn't talked in 6 months. She is committed to a psychiatric hospital for the criminally insane. So we have Theo, on the other hand. Theo is this young psychotherapist who takes an interest in Alicia's case. And he makes it his mission to get her to talk again. His goal is to get her to talk again and get her to accept what she's done, accept what has happened. It just kept building and building and building and giving you these little nuggets, and it felt like a mystery at times. Like, I'm like, Theo, bro, like, stay in your lane. You're a therapist. You're on this like it's a freaking you're a detective on a murder case trying to solve the case. The twist, honey, the twist. Like, you won't even see it coming. I feel like there's like 2 twists in this. But yes, just like blew my mind. It was so good. It just hooked. It just keeps you, it kept me engaged, kept me wanting more. I couldn't stop listening. It was so good. So the next thriller that I have is Raisor Blade Tears by S.A. Cosby. And this author right here has quickly become one of my favorite authors. Like, gonna be an auto-buy author for me, for sure. I listened to the audiobook and then I was like, I gotta have it physical. Like, I need the physical in my collection. I need the physical book. It read like a movie. Like, all his books read like a freaking movie. Just so full of suspense and action and tension. And in this book, we have two main characters, Ike and Buddy Lee. So Ike and Buddy Lee are both ex-cons. Ike is a black man, Buddy Lee is a white man. They are living in the South, and their sons are married. Their sons are brutally murdered in what appears to be a hate crime. The case runs cold. It looks like the police don't have any leads. So Ike and Buddy Lee are like, hey, you know, like, they're familiar with this, you know, the criminal elements, the criminal world. You know, they figure people are probably more likely to talk to them than they are to talk to the cops. So they kind of take matters into their own hands, and they set out to find out who murdered their sons. And we just follow this ride, this journey with them, and it's gritty and it's violent at times, and it's just action-packed. Just oof. Love it, love it, love it, love it. It also tackles things like race, being black in the South, issues of, you know, homophobia. We see the relationship between these fathers and their sons, and how they handled, you know, the knowledge that their sons were, you know, were gay and in a committed relationship. So we see the struggles between them as far as the relationship. And we kind of get that in, you know, like in hindsight, you know, reflecting back, because at the top of the book, you know, we learned that their sons had been murdered. We also get a glimpse at the effects of incarceration on the family unit. How it not only affects the, you know, the person that's incarcerated, but how it affects their families. Should definitely add this to your TBR if you have never read anything from him. My next top rated thriller is also by Mr. S.A. Cosby, and that is All the Sinners Bleed. So, once again, another like action-packed thriller. So this book follows our main character Titus, who is a sheriff and he's a black sheriff in a podunk town in, you know, in the South, in Virginia. This town has a long history of shady, crazy things like mass murders, mass suicides, just crazy things, right? But apparently, you know, those were hundreds of years in the past, or maybe not even that. But at this point, you know, it seems like this is some idyllic little town with some, you know, racist undertones. This beloved teacher, who happens to be white, is murdered one day by this former black student. And Titus is getting pressure from all sides. You know, he's getting pressure from, you know, leaders in the community who want him to, you know, solve this case, close it out, whatever. And then he has leaders in the black community like, hey, you know, what are you doing to get justice for the shooter? Because not only does the former student shoot and kill the beloved white teacher, but then the police turn around and shoot and kill the former student. Titus is getting pressure from all sides. Then in the midst of all this, Titus learns that they have a serial killer in their town who has been operating under the radar for probably years, and nobody knew, because these are victims that have gone unreported. You know, these are black and brown children that no one cared. No one cared about. Very intense. This one definitely deals with, you know, race, policing in America, religion. This one is like really good as well. So definitely a nail biter, keeps you on the edge of your seat. This one read just like a movie as well. I'm just saying, this man, his books they need to be optioned. They need the green light for a series or a movie. I don't know. Just, it needs to be on the big screen. So those were my top rated thrillers for 2024. So next, let's talk about my top rated fantasy books for 2024. So my first top rated fantasy for 2024 was Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. And this was my first fantasy book of the year, and it was mind-blowing. It was beautiful. This book here follows our main characters, Jingyan. I'm probably mispronouncing her name, but Jingyan is the daughter of the moon goddess. And Jingyan and her mother and her mother's attendant have basically lived on the moon like all Jingyan's life. That's all she's known. And then one day something happens, some visitors come to their home, and Jingyan is forced to flee her home. So she has to flee their home and basically take refuge, in an entire different realm. And she has to assume a false identity. At some point, Jingyan learns that her mom has been exiled there. She's thought that, hey, we're just living up here because my mom's a goddess, but she eventually learns that, hey, her mom was actually exiled there on the moon for something that she's accused of, something that she's done. Jingyan joins the army in an attempt to, I guess, restore her mom's honor and basically, clear her mom's name. And there's a bit of a love story here. Jingyan is caught between the prince and then this guy that she meets in the army, this general or whatever. So we got a little bit of a love triangle there. Really great read, a really great adventure. The writing in this is just beautiful. The way that Su Lin Tan describes things, it's just very lyrical. It's a really gorgeous book, and I really loved it. So I gave this one 5 stars. Excellent read. If you're looking for a fantasy with, a little bit of romance, but no spice, this is a good one. It's inspired by Chinese mythology. A really excellent read. My next top rated fantasy for 2024 was The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber V. Nicole. Now this is a romantasy, and this does have some spice to it. I think this one does. I think book 2 does. I think it gets a little spicy. This is a spicy romantasy series, so I can't remember if book 2 had the spice in it yet or not, but so this is a part of the Gods and Monsters series. So we have our main character, Diana, and she is what's called an Igmorthan, basically like a vampiric shapeshifter. Then we have Sam Kyle, who is a god, like the ultimate god. Basically, these two are sworn enemies, right? Sworn enemies. In book 1, we learned that Diana is hooked up with the ultimate baddie, Caden. She's like his top enforcer. And Sam Kyle is basically in forced isolation after he damn near destroyed the world. Sam Kyle learns that Caden is basically trying to unlock these prison worlds and bring hell to the universe. Sam Kyle's kind of forced to come out of his isolation to save the world. We're just kind of on this continued adventure from book 1 into book 2. This is definitely an enemies to lovers. Like I said, Diana and Sam Kyle are sworn enemies, but eventually they kind of fall in love. I mean, it wrecked me. So if you get into this series, just know that you're going to get emotionally attached to some characters and that she is going to emotionally wreck you. So just be forewarned. All right, so the next top rated fantasy for me this year was Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This was an excellent read. This was an excellent read. I think that this is a great book for young adults and teens in the way that it tackles issues like grief and racism and sexism in America. This book follows our main character, Bree. Bree is a high school student, but she has been accepted into this like a college prep type course at the University of North Carolina. That's another good thing about this book. This is a fantasy in a modern setting. So for folks that are new to fantasy, this might be a good read for you, just given that there's not a whole lot of world building. Bree is struggling with the loss of her mother. Everyone handles grief differently. And so I like the portrayal of Bree and her grief. Bree's mother, like I said, Bree's mother passed away. It was unexpected. It was an accident. And then one night, Bree she witnesses something on campus, which leads to her discovering magic. She discovers the world of magic. And then she starts to question the circumstances surrounding her mom's death. You know, was her mom's accident truly an accident, or was her mom murdered? A lot of questions need to be answered, and Bree sets out to find those answers. Bree gets involved with this secret society on campus, and it's this group of teens, this group of college kids who are the descendants of King Arthur. So if I didn't mention King Arthur in the Knights of the Round Table. So if I didn't mention, this is kind of a King Arthur retelling. Bree basically stumbles upon this world of magic, and she is going undercover and infiltrating this secret society that has been predominantly white for hundreds of years. And then here comes Miss Bree and all her fierceness. It's a really good book. Just a really good book. This is a part of a series. I have book 2. Like after I finished book 1, I was like, let me go get book 2. The third book in this series comes out next year. I'm not certain of the date, but Editing Shalita will put the date on the screen. So yeah, excellent read if you were looking for, looking to dip your toe into fantasy. Start with this. Moving on, switching gears. So I read a lot of romance this year. A lot. And read a lot of good ones. read a lot of good ones, but these were just the top tier for me. I think they were all 5-star reads for me. So let's start out with The Mixtape by Brittany Cherry. So this one I don't have a physical copy of. This one I checked out from the library, but this was such an excellent read. So we have our main characters. We have Emery and Oliver. Y'all, this book had me crying at probably within the first 5 pages. Geez, is this how we're gonna start the book off? So Oliver he's a twin, and he is part of this R&B group that consists of him and his brother. Then we have Emery, who is a single mom who's basically struggling to make ends meet. On the back of the book and early on in the book, we learn that Oliver's brother dies unexpectedly. Tragic accident, his brother dies. And Oliver, as one could expect, falls into a deep depression. That was his brother. That was his best friend. So we watch Oliver go through this. And, grief isn't pretty. Brittany Cherry does such an excellent job of not just saying, hey, this person is depressed, but, showing us all the many ways and shapes and forms that grief and depression can take. I mean, your heart just breaks. That was his twin. That was his best friend, So your heart just breaks just reading everything that he is enduring and going through. And then we have Emery, who, like I said, she's a single mom, just struggling to make ends meet. She doesn't have, she doesn't have a support system outside of a very kind neighbor that she has. But other than that, she is alone in this. No family, no friends. You know, even though they both are struggling with their own battles, dealing with their own issues, somehow they find each other and they come together. And Emma is she's this ray of sunshine. Like, she's struggling, right? She's got her own daggone issues, but still she finds a way to bring a spark back to Oliver's life, to bring joy to his life. And it's just they're so cute. They're so amazing. And there's this scene where they stay up all night and they're like playing songs for each other. And y'all, that just, like, that did it for me. Like, I'm, you know, as a music lover, you know, I got all kinds of music tattoos, but you know, I'm a music lover. And to see that scene play out like that, it was so cute. Like, it was cute. It was nice. Another big thing that I took away from this was breaking generational curses, because there's a lot of trauma around Emery and her family. And, you know, you could see that it's definitely some issues that need to be addressed. And to watch her, you know, stand up to her family, to watch Oliver, like, hey, like, he's ready to stand up for her. It was good. It was good. So the next book that I have is a part of a series, and actually book 1 and book 2 are both of my top rated. The first book that I have is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. And this was my first Kennedy Ryan book, and it was 5 stars. This is a second chance romance, and this story follows Josiah and Yasmin. They are college sweethearts. They were married. They endure a traumatic event, and it pretty much drives a wedge in their marriage, and they get divorced. So in the story, we're basically following their story as they try to co-parent their teen and preteen children, and also run a business together. We get to see that Yasmin she's on a journey of healing after this event. And we also see how this event has not only affected them, the event, their divorce, how it not only affects them, but also affects their children. That's one thing that I really enjoyed about this story, because it's not just a love story. We get to see their family. And when you have, it's another thing, it's kind of cool when you have these older children, because we're getting to see, you know, their emotions and their interactions, you know, between the parents and the children. I love the way Kennedy Ryan, you know, shows, you know, mental health struggles, you know, in these characters, in these Black characters, and especially with Josiah. Traditionally, and you know, and Black families and Black communities, you know, the man has to be tough. You know, he's the provider. He doesn't have time to be sad. You know, big boys don't cry. You know, men don't cry. Men don't show their emotions. And that's definitely kind of the approach that you see with Josiah. And then you see him, you know, finally realize, you know, for his son's sake, maybe I should give this therapy thing a try. And just seeing him let those walls down, let his guard down, and actually really put some effort into you know, his own mental health, you know, because he's going into it, you know, for his son, of course, like, hey, you know, let me show my son that this is okay. And then he actually is able to take something away from that. So it's beautiful the way that Kennedy Ryan shows and demonstrates mental health struggles, but also shows and demonstrates folks getting the help that they need. As far as the love story here, it's a lot of like, will they, won't they, you know, is is there still love there? Is there still love between these two characters? Can they find their way back to each other? Should they find their way back to each other? Excellent read. Really love this book. All right, so, and the third and final top rated romance for me for 2024 was This Could Be Us by none other than Kennedy Ryan. So this is book 2. This is book 1. This is book 2. This is book 2 in the Skyland series. And I am definitely going to do a reread of both of these next year because book 3 comes out. So I want to reread these. I want to annotate because I predominantly listen to the audio of these, and I definitely want to go back, read it, do some annotating. This book here follows Soledad, our main character, and Soledad has been in this marriage for 20 plus years. You know, she married her college sweetheart, and she is a stay-at-home mom. She's been supporting her husband's career. You know, she let go of her career aspirations to basically raise their children and to support him and his career. Then something happens. Her husband gets caught up in some legal trouble, and she is forced to basically she's got to find a way to support herself and her children. She's got to learn to stand on her own 2 feet. And we have our main male character, Judah Cross. So Judah is recently divorced, but him and his wife, they have a very amicable relationship. Like, it was an amicable divorce. He's even friends with her husband. That's just how mature they are. Love that too, you know. The Kennedy shows, hey, you know, there are divorces, and there's, you know, divorces can be healthy. Healthy relationships can come out of a divorce. So he and his wife are co-parenting their twin teen sons who are on the autism spectrum. So that's one of the things that I love about this book. One of the things that I love about Kennedy Ryan, I love the representation. You know, the first book, there was so much representation as far as, you know, mental health concerns and the Black community and trauma and surviving trauma. And then this book, you know, showing that representation that families come in all shapes and sizes. These characters are so human. She writes, the characters that she writes, they feel so real. Like, these are people that you have in your own family. These are things that real people are dealing with. It's a romance, but it's so much more. Like I said, we have Soledad on one hand, then we have Judah on the other. It's kind of almost like a forbidden romance, because he's kind of the person who, I mean, don't get me wrong, her husband gets himself into trouble, right? So I can't be like, oh, Judah's the one who got him in trouble. But I mean, her husband did what he did, had to pay the consequences. But because of Judah's work as a forensic, I think it's like a forensic accountant or investigator, something like that. Basically, he uncovers the truth about the illegal stuff that her husband's doing. Their paths cross, and there's definitely an attraction there between the two of them. They have this you know, forbidden attraction, this forbidden romance between the two of them. But it's not just a love story about them. It is, you know, a story of self-love and self-discovery for Soledad, because she's been a wife and a mother for so long. You know, she has to learn how to love herself again and find out what she wants out of her life. Who she is not just a mother and a wife, but, you know, as a woman, as a person. So watching her discover her wants and needs is a beautiful thing. I mean, if you haven't read a Kennedy Ryan book, you need to hop on that train ASAP. Have you all read any of these books? If so, let me know down in the comments. have I influenced you enough to add these to your 2025 TBR? All right, well, that is all that I have for you all today. Thank you so much for watching, friends. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And until the next one, guys, this may be the last one for the year. So Happy New Year. See you all in 2025. Bye.